actually extraordinary, that piece. And then I think the thing that the bit that just struck me was when Cosby himself goes on a lot of basically, established television shows, whether it's Larry King Live, whether it's Charlie Rose, whether it's, I don't know, The Today Show, and he starts talking about and boasting about this thing called Spanish Fly.
Yes.
I'm going to play the clip from Larry King, which was so iconic in this regard.
You know anything about Spanish Fly?
When we were kids, we used to...
There you go. There you go. That's all. I just wanted a recognition.
Yeah,
Spanish Fly.
We knew what it was.
Spanish Fly was the thing that all boys from age 11 on up to death, we will still be searching for Spanish Fly.
That's right.
And what was the old story was, if you took a little drop, it was on the head of a pin. And you put it in the drink.
Coca-Cola. Don't matter.
It doesn't make it, and the girl would drink it, and hello, America.
It's a massive signpost, but the two of them are yucking it up, including the interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost, he was outing himself, although, to be fair, many people said Spanish Fly was just an aphrodisiac. What did they know then? And when did they know it? And why were they all sort of complicit in this rah-rah, yuck about this?
And we talk about this in episode 1 of the series. There is a culture in the media of, whether it's Hollywood or the media overall, of a boys' club. And especially the further you go back in time in America, the more boys are in that club and the less women are in that club. And the more it's white men in that club. And then Cosby gets in, he's a special black guy to get in that club. And so it's one of those things where they don't even know not to do the locker room talk just in the locker room. And I think we've seen that across culture. We've seen that with even a president in this country, that they're doing the thing that they do, and because they're so powerful and they've done this in front of so many people and they sort of talk this way, they are forgetting that maybe this is not the forum to do that. And also, at that point, Cosby had been. This was the height of this was like him on the height of the Cosby Show, that he feels all powerful, I believe. And I think it's really. A lot of the series is really about how rape culture works to perpetuate stereotypes and to break women into body parts instead of fully formed human beings. And so then men feel like they can get away with a lot of things, and we can laugh it off, not knowing that for some of these men, they're actually telling on themselves.
Telling on themselves. I thought that was very revealing that one of your interviewees said. And I want to play another clip from one of the victims, because it looked at the beginning as if it was just white women who were being preyed on. But here's what one of the victims tells you.
Okay, so people think that it's a conspiracy, right? That a bunch of white women are trying to take Bill Cosby down. Well, a third of us, of his public survivors, are black women.
So I guess fast forward, and he gets convicted. And he gets put in jail. And he serves how long?
He serves, I believe, 3 years.
Okay, so 3 years was the low end of his term, of his conviction. So he could have got out, but then he did get out. That was pretty shocking to a lot of the women, and it happened in the midst of your shooting. How did you recoup? How did you carry on this series when the story had such a twist and turn at the very end?
I mean, not only were we filming in Philadelphia that day, and it was supposed to be our last day of filming, which it ended up not being for obvious reasons. I mean, I just remember feeling so much sorrow and sadness and empathy for the survivors, because they'd been talking with Cosby getting paroled, but then it was clear Cosby wasn't going to do any of the rehab work to get paroled early. And so they thought, well, he's going to be in there for 10 years, so he will either spend the rest of his life in prison or he will come out as a very, very old man. And so nobody saw that coming. And I just remember feeling so much sorrow. And as I say in the film, I didn't know what the film was anymore. Like, what are we doing here? After a couple of days, me and the producers, looked at it and said, really, the story doesn't change that dramatically. The stakes are raised somewhat it feels like a dangerous way, because now he's out again and all the Cosby defenders are going to come out. But it was honestly, I had gone too far. There's a line that Kierna Mayo says in the series that she was basically repeating what I said. The only way out is through. We had gone too deep. I could not put the survivor interviews on the shelf and not respect the time they'd given to us. So we had to keep going.
Again, he did serve the minimum time that he was convicted, and they did overturn it on a technicality, which many of the victims were very, very upset about.
Yeah, it was overturned. It's basically like backroom legal dealing that went wrong. As Michael Cord says, a good decision for a bad man.
And finally, so we asked the PR team for a response to your series. And they did, and they call it the official response to PR hack W. Kamau Bell's Showtime documentary. And it reads in part, Mr. Cosby has spent more than 50 years standing with the excluded, made it possible for some to be included. He's standing with the disenfranchised and standing with those women and men who were denied respectful work because of race or gender within the expanses of the entertainment industry. Let us talk about Bill Cosby. Mr. Cosby continues to be the target of numerous media that have for too many years distorted and omitted truths intentionally. And then they refer to his overturning of the conviction.
Which was not about the conviction overturning, was not about his guilt or innocence. Let's be clear about that. It was about, there was a backroom deal that was made between lawyers that somebody then went backwards on the backroom deal, and that's what got him out. It was not about weighing in on his guilt or innocence.
So in response to this, media intentionally lies, etc. What's your response to their response? And what's your final hope for where this series lands and what it does?
I mean, my response to their response is, I hope you tune in, because I think you'll learn a lot.
And I guess for everybody then.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, and then what I hope for this series, the thread of this series is that it's bigger than Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is the most compelling case for me to talk about, because as a black man who was born in Bill Cosby's America, who grew up to become a stand-up comedian, who tried to model how he did good on stage and off stage after some aspect of Bill Cosby's career. It's the most compelling case of like what's going on in this world, what's going on in this industry. And for me, the thing this film really wants to do is lead us to have discussions afterward, which should be basically focused on how do we create a world that is safer for survivors of sexual assault. It's not about, we always focus on the one bad man in this situation, but we have to focus on the structures in the society.
W. Kamau Bell, thank you.
Thank you.